My name is William Harper. This is KPB 220 Assignment 1. I'm doing it on the Purebred Crisis from SBS The Feed Viceland. So in regards to the content, Costello approaches it in a seemingly benign way initially. It is through the slow introduction of certain stylistic techniques that we as responders are positioned. As Atkinson states, documentary reality cannot be used as an accurate portrayal of reality. Rather, the descriptions given within can be used to position an argument. We must not assume that accounts and descriptions are accurate in a sense. We must see them as setting up their own reality. It is because of this that documentaries are best viewed as texts and analysed as such. So in regards to the mode, I thought it was quite clearly multimodal, with the two modes being participatory and observational. The director Marcus Costello has made clear stylistic decisions and employed certain techniques that clearly demonstrate the effectiveness of combining these two modes. For the most part, we are not shown the director asking any questions. Rather, the subject is shown answering the question. It is implied that the subject was just asked the question. This is sort of more like a fly-on-the-wall technique. This makes it especially effective and poignant when we are finally shown scenes where the director's voice can be clearly heard, questioning the subjects directly. The director asks, if the dog has a bit of corgi in it, might that help offset some of the problems that purebreds carry? This question is posed just after we have witnessed a veterinarian explicitly say that crossbreeding can alleviate some of the symptoms that these purebred dogs have. The lady ambiguously responds, saying that it can never be said for sure. Nichols states that this is a weakness of the participatory mode, that the responder may lose their independence of judgment. I would argue that in this documentary, the switching of modes is a strength. It has been done in a way that the director can subtly push his agenda, positioning the responder to see the problem with these purebred dogs. The primary technique for acquiring and representing information in these modes is through the use of interview. Although we cannot see the director asking the questions when the observational mode is being used, we still know that the interview technique remains the same as the participatory mode. It is only through the conscious decision of the director to switch modes that the effectiveness of this technique is realized. The director can take the stylistic liberty and use artistic freedom, as there is no real template as to what constitutes a documentary. As Pennebaker said, you cannot grade art, it fails or it succeeds. Documentary is effective when it seems as if it is an accidental interception of the real world. The director has made many stylistic choices to position us as responders in a certain way. In the opening scene, we are presented with upbeat classical music, a smiling woman, and cute puppies. As responders, we are obviously taken in by these three factors and made to feel at ease. This is what makes the later juxtaposing scene so effective. The responder has been lulled into a false sense of security. This dramatically heightens the power of the next scene, with the sterile surgical environment. Within the first minute, the responder has been drawn in, then is quickly put under no false pretenses that the pure breeding of these dogs is anything but bad, where the director has chosen to include sounds of puppies crying. The constant chopping and changing through the use of editing keeps the responder visually engaged. It gives the documentary a feeling of chronological progression. As De Jong has stated, the story of the documentary must be considered. What narrative is being told? What are the roles of the characters? Who are the antagonists and protagonists? Costello uses subtle techniques to guide the narrative and position the audience to respond to certain characters in certain ways. There are four main interviewees in the documentary. Costello has subtly and effectively portrayed them as protagonist and antagonist. The antagonists in the documentary can be identified as Karen Anderson, a French bulldog owner, and Sharon Edmonds, a bulldog breeder. There are many ways that Costello portrays them this way, but the most subtle is when they are introduced. Both Sharon and Karen introduce themselves verbally. There is no text that appears on screen that gives any explanation about them at all. This is in stark contrast to the two protagonists, Dr. Paula Parker and Dr. Bronwyn Orr. When the protagonists first appear on screen, text appears displaying their names and title. This has been done to make them look professional and show that they have a better understanding of the implications of breeding dogs like this. The relationship between the content, mode, and style is interlocking and fluid. The stylistic choices, such as the editing, complement the changing of modes perfectly in a symbiotic relationship. The director clearly displays his viewpoint on the content through his modal and stylistic choices.